You know, when I see this brutality that humans commit against animals, I feel so sad, helpless, and hopeless. But in reality, we are not helpless against these crimes that are being committed by these huge industries. We have a voice and we can vote with our wallets. If humans stop buying the dead flesh of these poor, tortured, and brutalized animals and animal products, there would be no more industries that would be producing animal flesh and animal products. So you have to stop buying meat and dairy and eggs and fish, anything that comes from an animal, because as long as humans buy, animals will die. When I look at mama chickens, for example, I find these hens to be very elegant ladies, and they are so nice and so protective of their little chicks, of their little children. They put their wings around them and they protect them from predators and from the weather, and give them warmth when they need it. And that is how it is supposed to be. Animals have instincts like humans do toward their children. But what have we done as humans? We have basically taken all their dignity away and we turned them into egg-producing machines. Yes, that's what they are, egg-producing machines. And why are you eating eggs? Why is anybody eating eggs? We don't need eggs for anything. It is actually a very high cholesterol food that is not good for your veins. It's not good for your heart. It's not good for your health. So stop eating the eggs. Stop eating chickens. And we take their male children away and we put them live into a grinder. Did you know that? The male chickens, they're being taken and they're being put into a live grinder, and then from there they're being probably fed to cows, or I don't know what evil product they make out of it, but obviously it's not just going to get thrown away. They're using it in some manner. And the other thing is the female chickens, they have either two fates. One of them, they're either going to be egg machines, or they're going to be used as broiler chickens, and they're pumping them with so many antibiotics and chemicals to make them really, really fat. They are so fat and so sick, and they have tumors and cancers. They can't stand on their own 2 feet anymore. We have completely taken every bit of dignity from these beautiful animals, and not just the chickens. The same goes for cows and pigs and lambs and sheep and the animals that we're using for product testing, and animals that we're using for clothing like mink coats or leather purses, leather shoes, leather coats. We don't need that crap. Why are we buying that stuff? Have you ever been to a leather making building? I know of a friend of mine. She's been there, and she said the stench was unbelievable. They couldn't even stay in there for 5 minutes because it stunk so bad. And that's because it's rotting flesh. It's wrong. It is so wrong. It comes from the devil. So use your wallet to vote against these heinous crimes and these heinous and practically demonic cruelties and tortures against animals. I beg you. And I also want to tell you a story from my childhood, and the events that happened actually are the events that made me go vegan. So when I was a little girl, my parents, my brothers and sisters and I, we would go every year to my grandparents' farm. I'm from Germany, And my grandparents, they lived in the former East Germany. That's where my parents are originally from. And my grandparents had a big farm, and they had all kinds of farm animals. And they also had pigs and chickens and all kinds of, and they had cats and horses and cows. But anyway, there was this pig that I absolutely fell in love with. He was handsome and big, and I loved him so much. Every time when I came to his stall, he would just be, pushing his nose up against me, and he would be greeting me with his little grunts. And I would tell him my problems and my little stories, and I would read books to him. And I just really loved that pig. He was just the cutest thing I've ever seen. And one day, my grandfather put him in the middle of the yard, and I said, "Grandpa, what are you doing?" He said, "Well, we're going to make sausage out of him today." And I started crying, and I started pulling on my grandfather's jacket, and I was like, "Oh, Grandpa, please, no. Don't kill my friend, please." And he just kind of pushed me aside. He had a stun gun. He put it to the head of the pig, and I think he had to do it a few times. And then suddenly my friend, the pig, he fell to the ground, and he was lifeless. And my grandfather and a friend of his, they tied his hind legs, and they hung him upside down, and hung him with a rope and a hook on this beam. And then he sliced him open from top to bottom, and then I saw all the blood dripping out. And then I saw my grandfather making sausages and all kinds of different meat products out of my friend. And he had a big loft on the top of his farmhouse, and that's where he would put all the meat to dry, because I guess it needs some time to cure, whatever. And that's when I realized for the first time, that's where my salami and my bacon comes from. I had no idea. I was just a little girl. But that's when I realized where it actually came from. And from that moment on, I refused to eat salami on my bread. I would just put the butter on it. But again, the butter was also it was a dairy product, but at the time I didn't know that. I didn't know it came from cows. All I knew is it was a spread that you put on your bread. And so I did at least stop eating the meat, and I completely refused to eat any kind of meat. And then also one day I saw my grandmother chasing the chickens, and I was like, why is she chasing the chickens? Because I really looked up to my grandma. I mean, she was a really great lady. And she grabbed one of the chickens. She put the chicken on top of a tree stump, took an axe, and hacked that chicken's head off. And I just stood there completely devastated and speechless. I was paralyzed, kind of. And I was like, Grandma, what are you doing? And then she took that chicken and started ripping out all of its feathers, and then she did what she did, and that night we had chicken noodle soup. And of course, at that point I knew where these white pieces in my noodle soup came from, and I refused to eat it. And from then on, I refused to eat anything that came from an animal. But then when we came back home, of course my parents were very worried about protein deficiency and any kind of vitamin and mineral deficiencies, and they were so afraid for me because I kind of stopped eating. So my father told me that at our home, and our meat that my parents were serving was growing on trees, and it didn't come from an animal. So again, I was just a little girl, and I trusted my parents, and I thought, oh, okay, if our meat grows on trees and they don't come from a dead animal, I can eat it. But then of course, when I got older, I realized how stupid that was. But I guess parents go through great lengths to make their kids eat something that's actually dangerous and bad for them. And that's also because the parents don't know any better. The parents are brainwashed. They think we have to have the meat in order to survive. But that's not really true. You don't have to have animal products. Even when you are a little child, like my children, they have been vegan since conception. And they have never had an animal product. And they're healthy and they're thriving. We're almost never sick. The only time when we get sick is during the holidays, when we're just eating maybe like too much sugar, too many sugar cookies, or the weather gets really cold and we're around a lot of sick people, and we get kind of stressed out because of all the holiday craze that goes on. We also get caught up in that. So, but other than that, we never get sick. And even when we are around a lot of very sickly people, we are just not catching what they have, because our immune system is fighting all the bugs that are out there, and we stay healthy. So just please leave a comment in the comments below, and just tell me maybe your story, how you came to be a vegan, or tell us maybe your fears around veganism, so we can maybe discuss it with you. Or tell us if you like to go vegan and you just don't know how, we can help you with that. Just comment and let us know if you have a similar story to mine, like, you know, like I saw my friend getting killed right in front of my eyes. If you have a story like that, or anything that you would like to tell us about your eating habits or your fears around plant-based veganism, just tell us and we can connect with you and we can help you, okay? Well, I hope this video was helpful. I didn't script it. It was just basically, I just turned the camera on and started talking, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it makes sense, and I hope it blessed you in some way. Okay, I will continue to make videos that are educational and videos that advocate for animals and for veganism, and I will see you in the next video, okay? Bye.